Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. All right, welcome, golfers. Welcome. This is the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. Podcast sponsored this week again by our very good friends at Cobra Golf and the all-new 3D printed irons featuring 3D printed golf heads. These irons deliver unmatched blend of feel, forgiveness, and precision shaping that goes far beyond the limits of traditional forging and casting. Experience the future of iron performance and get fitted for your Cobra Golf 3D printed irons today. Visit cobragolf.ca for more information. Before we get going here, make sure you're following us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. And please subscribe to us on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And we really do encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash that like button and click the notification bell to make sure you never miss a single episode. Yeah, you know, I did that we were talking about all the YouTube stuff and the influencers and stuff. Well, that's what they all do. You know, if I'm going to be,
that's
if
the
I'm
problem.
going to be a YouTube influencer, I got to use the right term. You got to smash that.
But
button.
that's the problem. They all just copy each other instead of trying to be original. And it's like the original person that maybe did that was great, but then it's everyone else who just does the same thing. So
that's why I did that. Anybody wants to know? That's why I did it. Sure. Now I'm an influencer. Look at me. I'm not even in the Canadian influencer tournament, the Golf Influencer Classic, or the the Canadian Internet Invitational, whatever the hell. Oh my God. Okay.
Yes.
Scott. On this show, we're going to catch up on a few things. Our latest travels, obviously, around the region.
Yeah.
Doing deliveries. We're going to chat about we're going to chat about golf rules. You know, we're going to kind of get into the whole rules are rules, or are they? Ones we like, ones we don't like, ones we'd like to see changed, ones that, in your terminology here, not mine, perplex us. We're also going to chat a little bit about the growth of financial opportunities within the YouTube golf sector, including the next edition, God forbid, of the Internet Invitational. The only thing I like about the next Internet Invitational is probably going to be a really good podcast topic.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's
going to be great for YouTube.
Yeah, creating content for more content.
Content creators creating content for their content creations.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get at it here. Let's get at it, Scott. Front Nine presented by Metcalfe Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Now is a great time. I can say now is a great time. It is a great time to get your game packages. Big thing at Metcalfe, game packages for adults, juniors, and families. They're always available online, and plus check out some of their 50th anniversary specials. I grabbed myself a 50th anniversary towel, very cool looking, and a 50th anniversary flag, for like a golf flag for your. You know how I am with flags. We used to do this all the time when we were on road trips. It was either bag tags or flags. Yeah. And the flags were really cool. And
definitely have a few flags in the office.
Given the fact that Son Brandon and us in general created the 50th anniversary logo for Metcalfe, it was nice to have some 50th anniversary.
Not being me. Us not being me.
Well, you did approve the design after it was created. You know, you proofed it. You proofread it.
I certainly didn't get out my crayon and do anything. That's for sure.
Your pencil crayons?
Yeah, I'm not that guy. But yeah, you guys have had a long affiliation with Metcalfe, being close to you guys. And obviously it's been a long partnership with them. So yeah, kind of cool to see this stuff. And
yes. So visit metcalfegolf.com.
Exactly.
And stay in touch with your golf savings.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm contrary to what some might believe, I'm not that tired. after
Oh
the last
Lord,
2 days. It
that
was
was
a long
beat.
couple of days, and but I didn't mind it. It was, aside from a little bit of rain late in the day yesterday and a couple of tornadoes,
Yeah,
it
yeah, sure.
wasn't
Why
really
not throw
that
those in?
bad.
I think it was longer for me because on Monday, because I drove from Kingston up to Ottawa first.
Hmm.
So it was those extra couple hours and being up to drive up at 5 a.m. I think that sort of lent to it, and that sort of just kind of built on it. I wasn't, yeah. So I was good, and I wasn't tired because of the activity levels. It was kind of fun
It's
though,
never the activity level. It's just
but it's
it's
just, yeah, it's long.
it's two very long. Like I had two good 12 plus hour
Yeah,
days
yeah,
of
yeah.
driving, and it was and it's a lot of
It's
yesterday
hard
was
when the weather's
crazy.
hard, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay when the weather's nice and you're just kind of going along and checking out the scenes and seeing the sights, and yeah, what we're talking about here is delivering the July issue, the print issue
Yes.
of Flagstick Golf Magazine, and so when the weather's nice and you're popping at parking lots and people are playing golf and they're smiling and they're happy and there's lots to enjoy. But yeah, when the weather gets nasty and people get grumpy and and things sort of change a little bit as
Or
far
when
as
there's nobody there. That's
yes,
the like later in the
yes.
day. Later
There
in
was
the
a lot of
day.
golf courses that closed up yesterday. I saw
Yeah.
that up the valley, so yeah.
Day two. I'm standing. I'm do my Upper Valley route, Upper Ottawa Valley route, which is up into Renfrew
Eganville and all that stuff.
Eganville and all that area,
Yeah,
Cobden. And then I come back and I cross over the Ottawa River into Quebec and I start doing up and through the Gatineau Hills and stuff. Well, it was when I
yeah.
got over the bridge, the Island Park Bridge, and I'm in the pro shop talking to Paul Carruthers
The
and
Royal
at Royal
Ottawa.
Ottawa, and there's like the alert comes over the phone. And he's like, "Oh, an Amber Alert." I'm like, "Oh, well, it's either that or it's a tornado watch." Because I
Again.
kind of sensed that the weather was turning a little bit. The
Yeah,
girl behind the counter in the pro shop's like, "Yeah, it's for this mobile area." I'm like, "Oh, that's wonderful. I'm about to
great, good
drive up
times.
into the Gatineau
Yeah,
Hills,
yeah, yeah,
not go home, and there's a
yeah,
tornado watch." So
yeah,
as
good
it turns
times.
out, I was on the other side of the radar, bad radar part anyway, so I just kept
Still,
going.
I
But
mean, as someone
um,
had an EF0 tornado pass behind his house earlier this, just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, you want to avoid that. So,
yeah. So anyway. But delivery's done, as you mentioned. Delivery is done. Magazines are out there. Issue number 2 for the season looks really nice. We do apologize. I know people kind of hope that with the magazine and print being back that everything would be in there. We have to really kind of pick and choose what goes in and what doesn't go in, and a lot of the stuff that's in there can be a little bit more like not time sensitive, but a little more recent. So if
yes, of
something
course. Yeah,
happened back in May after we
yeah,
published the first issue, or chances are we're not going to put it in
no,
the July issue. We're going to try to keep the things that happened in
yeah,
later June and July in the July issue, and then the rest of the stuff goes online. It is the beauty of having both platforms now is that we
right.
can
Yeah,
kind of pick and choose a little bit what stories. The stories are in the magazine are a little bit more. They're a little longer. We try to have some nice
yeah, and they're
pictures
more
in there.
and they're more evergreen. They're more things that are, obviously with the profile stories and so forth. They're not as much of the news related. So there's a little
Yeah,
less news that's in there, and we kept more of that news, as
we
you
try to
said,
get
kind of
some of the
online.
stuff in there.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah,
100%.
significant stuff, sir, for sure. So
But not everything's going to be in there. We just don't have.
no,
This is the mistake and the good thing about the magazine in the past and the mistake that we had made
too much.
became costly because you just try to put everything in there and then the
Hmm.
magazine gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but you don't have the ads to support it, and
Correct.
then it ends up costing you money
It's
to
not a
produce
good
rather.
business decision that
No,
way.
very,
So
very bad business
yeah.
model for print production,
Yeah.
but
I
that's
will
it's out there.
say, I want to hear, because I want to hear you a couple things from you from junior intersectionals and stuff like that. But the one
Hmm.
thing related to delivery, that I was having a kind of laugh at was, I've been to a lot of events lately. In fact, I'm headed to another Golf Ontario Championship this afternoon, down at Smuggler's Glen, the end of the U19 match play. But it was hilarious because within a number of hours doing delivery on Monday, I was at the site where they were having the Play Junior Golf Tour Summer Classic at Equinel in
Yeah.
the Race of the Flagstick.com cup. Jeez, I
Cut.
can't even
Cut.
talk today. Cup cut. I was the match play was day one at Smugglers, and then when I got to Timber Ridge, they were having a Durham Junior Golf Tour event there in the afternoon. So I saw the whole
Oh
gamut
wow.
of all the different juniors throughout the region and through Ontario.
Hmm.
And one thing I will say from that, I mentioned it quickly online. Uh, Thank you and hello to all the parents and kids that said hello during that
Yeah.
follows on, a lot of Instagram interaction on, when they were on X a lot or whatever, but definitely had some parents that even as far away as like Hamilton and stuff interacting and saying, thank you for supporting and covering junior golf and paying attention to it, because they just don't feel that there's that attention to it. And they really appreciate that. So, as soon as they saw a flag stick on my shirt, they're like, hey, it's Flagstick. And then, yeah, it was good. So it was
Yeah,
kind of cool.
I had a little different reaction at a Camelot when I popped out. Obviously, we're the sponsor of the junior intersectionals here in Ottawa. Um, and because of course I pulled up the Camelot in the Flagstick Jeep,
Yep.
and so it's a little bit more noticeable than just a shirt. So I
Sure,
had
of
a
course.
lot of people like right away were really like excited and oh my God, Flagstick's here, and I'm like, okay, well this is cool. And then yeah, a lot of parents coming up and offering thanks and opinions and things like that and chats while all the groups are teeing off and
Of course.
it was really awesome. There's some good junior golfers out there. Even
Yeah,
some
dude.
of the ones I saw are some of the
Yep.
ones that are not
Yes.
necessarily the ones that you
At the
see in
provincial
all the
level.
tournaments
Yeah.
in provincial.
Yeah.
But they're still really good golfers, and
Yeah. There's a ton
especially
of them
some of the
out there.
girls.
Yeah.
Holy crap, can they hit the
There's
ball?
yeah, there's a ton of them out there and there's more of them. But it's a matter of kind of, I don't know, it's kind of getting them together in some cases, especially for the girls. They just don't have a lot at clubs sometimes to play together. So it's important that they get these tournaments, they get to meet each other
Yeah.
and they get to find out, where their peers are, I guess, more than anything, and that they are out there and they're not alone.
We need to do something. Here's the one thing that I did notice, and I don't want to dwell on this too much because, we got a lot to talk about this week. But
Sure.
the thing that I did notice and in the discussions and what I've seen with the results and stuff like that is we need to sit down maybe, and I'll have this conversation with Serge at the OVGA as well. We need to sit down and figure out what has to be done in order to gain better participation
Mm,
amongst all of the
yeah.
clubs throughout the region for the junior intersectionals, because I know that they
Yes.
created the Stableford division to kind of combat a little bit of the lack of teams in the regular division, but I
Right.
don't
It
understand
hasn't grown it though.
why it hasn't grown to the point that the
Yeah.
same level as the men's and the ladies and the seniors and the senior ladies, because there's no issues there. I mean, there are clubs that don't put teams in because they just don't have
Sure.
people that want to participate.
Yeah.
But juniors, this is like a massively big deal, intersectionals. And why teams don't have enough players to form a junior team. Part of
Hmm.
this I understand is because of the makeup of the junior team, being that it has to be X number of girls, X number of U17s, X number of
Yeah.
U19s and stuff. And I don't understand why. And maybe someone at some point can explain it to me. But junior golfers there's difference in tees. You can
Hmm.
put a U19 against a U17, and they
Hmm.
could be equally the same index and playing
Sure.
against each other. So why is it necessary to have two
Yeah.
different age group? Why is it necessary to demand that each team have this? That's part of the reason
Yeah.
why you can't make a junior team is because some places don't have enough U17
Yeah.
or and
I th
some don't have enough girls. So
I
what? The
th
girls can
yeah.
participate against the boys,
Yeah.
but they
I
play different tees.
I think one of the things is that when you look at these competitions, I think people lose sight of what the competition's about.
Yep.
This is designed to be a social interaction between clubs. It is not just about winning.
No.
While winning is nice and you want to be competitive, the whole idea is to, get clubs together and interact and so forth. So yeah, we end up with, 21 clubs represented, some barely, because if you look at the Stableford edition, there was one club that only had one player. And so all of a sudden it's like, what's up with that? I understand some are away, some don't have as many junior members, but that's the future of our game. And realistically, we're talking about here, we've got to get them together and not worry about, okay, let's get specific with this because it's not, our team's not competitive. It should be this and should be this. And, I think it's up to the adults to emphasize the fact that, it's not necessarily just about the competition. It's about going there and playing. And you know what? Somebody's got to lose. Somebody's going to win.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel defeated by losing. You should feel that that you're satisfied because you went and represented your club.
Feel empowered by participating in it and
yeah,
competing.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this is part of junior golf, and correct me if I'm wrong, but part of junior golf events and competition, if you look at organizations like what Chris Veldkamp does with the Play Junior Golf Tour, okay? And one of the reasons why we support it and back it and are all in with what he's doing is because to get these kids comfortable playing tournament golf, to get them being comfortable playing competitively, so that they're not nervous when they and don't not participate because I don't do well in tournaments. I mean, you've got to play tournaments to get comfortable in tournaments,
and not participate because they're not winning. So that's the thing. It's like part of the, I always say it all the time, you're not losing, you're learning. And, that's part of the process. We've talked about it on this podcast before. It's like, you go out and play on the LPG tour, PJ tour, you win 20 times, you play 600 events in your career and you could be in a Hall of Fame. You're not going to win every time.
No.
And, I think people get too caught up with, oh, well, they're not competitive. They're not going to win. And I don't want to play because, I'm not good enough or whatever. So we have to flip the switch and realize that the participation is the important part more than anything.
So that said, maybe during the off season they get a chance. Serge, I'll reach out to Serge from the OVGA and just let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's figure out what can we do to make this better. Maybe we need to get representatives from all of the clubs that
I think that's part of it too,
participating into a room and say, okay, what do we need to do to the junior intersectionals to get everybody more involved in the real version of this, and so that they see what it's really like, so they want to play when they become men and continue playing when they get into the senior category. Okay.
Yep.
So I was out there for that. Awesome. Congratulations, Camelot, on the successful title defense. They pass on the hosting rights now to Ottawa Hunt.
There you go.
For next year. So we'll see if home course advantage plays a factor next year for the Hunt.
Exactly.
I got a member guest to play this week. Speaking of Camelot, I haven't played in a. I don't.
When was the last time you played a tournament?
I don't know.
Besides a scramble,
played a tournament. And right now I'm trying to figure out when the last time I played, because it's
too long.
I played 9 holes maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe. Anyways, my partner, Jean Malouin, good friend of mine I've known for a long time, called me up kind of out of the blue and asked me to play in the member guests. I don't know what his expectations are of me, but they're not what they once were.
They're high.
So we got a practice round to play on Thursday, which in and of itself is a little bit odd for me to play a practice round, but I haven't played a member guest on it since you and I won the Greyhawk member guest back when I was a member.
Oh, Lord.
Greyhawk. Yeah.
So that's like 2000 and
I'm looking at the little BMW trophy that we won for winning that. So
I don't know. What's the number on that? I don't even think there's a year on that thing, is there?
Anyway, so I got to do that. I'm looking forward to it.
That'd be cool.
I mean, the practice round will get the kinks out. Hopefully, I don't put up a good number in my practice round. So I got to have to make sure that I do some things so that doesn't happen.
And practice rounds shouldn't be that anyways. A practice round is not designed to be scoring.
No, I got to blow a few in the bush.
It's designed to find out where your game is.
I know where my game is.
create it. Well,
I
besides the
don't need a
toilet,
practice round to figure that out.
but
Anyway, should be fun. I haven't
yeah,
done
create a
one in a while. I
strategy.
haven't seen John in a long time, so getting caught
What's the
up. And
format though? Like, do you know?
I think it's
You
like a
don't even know that either.
two person best ball handicap
Handicapped.
thing. So
Okay.
I don't know what I'm playing to now. I have to check Golf Canada, but I'm pretty sure it's around a 6 or something. Anyway, so that should be
All right.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, what else
I'm.
happened this? You know what? The Open Championship finished.
Oh, funny that.
Yeah, funny that. Are we excited about who won?
I love the fact that he won. I think that's
Me as
great.
well.
I think how he won it was fantastic, and I think it took, which we'll get to a little bit here. I think it took some of the focus. I think it took the focus where it needed to be, rather than some of the distraction that had
Oh
happened
God,
early in the week. And I think the
always
way
some
he won
drama.
it, the examples of, the pace that he played at, his attitude, his humbleness, how hard he works. I think it was fantastic. I do wish Birkdale. I mean, the course looked great. I liked how it played, except for the greens. I think were a little soft. It could have had a little bit more wind, ideally. But overall, I think it was a great Open. I must say, because I haven't played a lot of golf, I did choose to go play golf on Sunday morning, and I was watching a lot by phone. But thankfully, I was in a group that was very much a leaderboard watching group. So
Hmm.
we were literally giving each other updates like every between shots. Like you go hit a shot, someone else would give you an update of what was happening.
No, good.
And everybody had the app on their phone, and they had a cool feature with the app where you could actually put the leaderboard onto your lock screen of your phone. So you're actually able to watch it back and forth that way.
Okay, that's
So,
cool.
which was good. And then I got done by the time there was just a couple of holes left, so I got to see the finish. And yeah, I think it was great. I think he's going to be a fantastic champion. So
I was obviously I was at a Camelot for the junior sectionals while it was
right,
all going on. I thought I might be able to get back, but they didn't start tee offs till 1 o'clock. So
right.
by the time they got, I found out while watching the second last group tee off that Ryan Fox had won, and I'm
Hmm.
very excited about that. I liked when Ryan Fox won the
Canadian Open last year.
Canadian Open last
Yeah,
year. I thought, geez, I like this guy. He just
yeah,
seems just so normal,
yeah.
like just
Down
so
to earth.
simple, down to
Yeah,
earth, average guy.
yeah,
Um, and then to see him win the Open Championships, just so humble. Like my
yeah,
gosh, like just so humble. And then watching the videos of him, boarding the plane and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Um,
it's anti what you have come to see in 2026, right? Like he didn't have, we'll call it main character syndrome, where
mhm.
he's got to be, he realizes it's like it's an honor to win the Open. And it's not about of like, oh well, yes, I won the Open or whatever. Like to him, he knows he did the work to get there,
Yeah,
but he also still doesn't believe it. But also on the other side of it is like, he chose to go for it on 18, because he's like, all right, what, I got to do this. I got to, I got to take it now. He didn't want to have to, go to extra holes and so forth. So, to show the grit that the way he did, whether it was the shot he played backwards and making a choice to come out of a bunker, and just all the different options. And, as I said, the pace that he plays at as well, is just incredible. It's just, see ball, hit ball. Something
yeah.
a lot of people can learn from.
I think so. I mean, I know there might be a bit of a happy medium in
Yeah,
in
I
in
think so
pace
too.
of
Yeah,
play
for
that
sure. Yeah,
you are
yeah,
allowed to take a little bit more time if you want,
yeah. You
but
don't. Yeah,
at the same time, why does it have to be? I was, a little off the topic here, but I was watching an interview with,
it's our podcast. You can do that.
yeah, I was watching an interview with Colin Montgomery,
Yes.
and Colin
Oh boy.
Montgomery was going off about the pace of play, going off about the 5 hour and 40 minute rounds, and
Mm,
he made the comment. He said, he says back Lee Trevino played in an Open Championship, and I think it was at Birkdale. Um,
71 at Birkdale. Yep.
71 at Birkdale. And he
I think
played
so.
the final round in 4 hours and 14 minutes.
Wow.
I
Okay.
believe that was, we say, played the final round in 4 hours and 14 minutes.
Yep.
Um, and he said, so he said, why does it take 5 hours and 40 minutes now? He says it was,
Mm,
yes, the golf course has changed a bit, but it's still the same golf course. It's still the
hmm
same golf tournament. It's
mm.
still a major championship. Um, why does it take an hour and 30 minutes longer to
Yeah.
play a round of golf now?
A lot of factors in there, I think. So, I mean, even people have to realize, I mean, and I'm not making excuses
But
for it
what
for
just
sure.
just give me a fact.
I'll throw, I'll
What
throw,
would be
I'll throw, I'll
one
throw,
factor that would be different from then to
I'll
now?
I'll throw one out from the TV broadcast standpoint. There's a lot of times where, if you, and I've had this caddying, LPGA or whatever, sometimes you're waiting to hit your shot because you're waiting for the camera crew to get into position. They ask you to do that. They ask you to make sure that, you're signaling the club, to the spotter as far as what they're hitting, and you're waiting for them to get into place rather than just firing away. Yeah, you'll have players that just go ahead and hit it. But again, that can lead into it. The crowds will, obviously get big. There's a number of factors. The play itself doesn't have to be slower, but again, I think there's a lot of conditioning, and we'll maybe get that when we talk about the rule stuff. There's a lot of conditioning in practice for people to think that if they were slower, they will be better. You can make good decisions fairly fast, but I think a lot of people have come to this decision that they have to go through a 47 step process before every shot in order to be somewhat successful. And I think that plays into it more than anything. Whereas, you see a player, and yes, Lee Trevino was abnormally quick. Ryan Fox is abnormally quick. And I'm with you. I think there's a happy medium that is there. But yeah, there's some small factors, but I think small factors are not necessarily the positive ones that are inexcusable. So
Well, small factors don't equal an almost 6 hour round of golf. So I don't care how many TV camera things or how big the crowds are. An almost 6 hour round of golf for,
mhm,
and I know it's a major championship. I know it's the PGA Tour. I know it's their livelihood and all that stuff. But let's
sure.
be honest with ourselves. The people playing in the Canadian amateur or the US amateur are putting just as much effort into and just as much time into playing the round of golf in the tournament that they're playing in as a PGA Tour pro is
And they're
playing for
just as
$14
slow.
million. dollars.
They're just
Well,
as
that's the
slow.
thing. It's
It's
like
that's the
so,
bad thing.
and I think that my personal opinion is that this is something much like other sports
Hmm.
where do as they do is what's ingrained in the kids at a young
Correct.
age,
Very much.
and not do what you should do. And
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if that makes
Oh, well,
sense
we
to
saw
people,
that.
but we see that
Well,
in hockey all the time. All these scrums and stuff after the whistle and pushing and
correct.
shoving and stuff. None
Yeah.
of that used to happen.
No,
All
but
the
it's
celebrations of
it's
going
what you
down the
see.
bench, fist
Yeah.
pumping, and all that stuff after goals, that was
Yeah.
learned behavior. Because
Correct.
when I played and when Bobby Orr played and Gordie Howe played, you scored a goal, you put your stick up in the air, everybody kind of came around,
Yeah.
patted you
And
on the head,
away I go.
and you went back to the face-off circle and started all over again. Now it
Yeah.
takes 20 minutes to
Hmm.
start to drop the puck after every freaking
Hmm.
goal.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
I
come
mean, we
on,
saw
like,
we,
what are we
we saw
doing
that
here?
we saw that with our own Flagstick shootout. We had to do some extra regulations on the second day because
Yes,
the
push,
first day
push,
it's
push,
like,
push.
yeah, because the first day it's like people got slow, and again, there was no real reason for it. So, but again, I think you're right. It is very much a learned behavior, which is important though when we talk about the future of the game and how people learn to play it, and they don't they. They're casual out there, and I'm not saying it's a race. You don't have to be a race, but
No.
the thing is, it's like,
It's
and again,
supposed to be enjoyable and relaxing. So yeah, it's not
correct.
supposed to be
No, no,
like a
no. But
running
but but
competition.
but there's a lot of things, as you said, that sort of add up. And as a result of it, people, become self-centered and they don't realize that they're holding somebody up and they're like, oh, we're just taking our time, we're enjoying ourselves. But the problem is that enjoying yourself turns into, an all-day affair, which in the end, the enjoyment or the idea
Disappears.
of the enjoyment, well, the idea and the enjoyment will choke out the game because all of
Yep.
a sudden people will, okay, well, that's great to have fun, but next thing you know, if it takes too long to play, then, and we already hear that from people. It's like, well, I'm not playing because it takes too long to play. I don't want to be gone all day. And if we go back and start, talking about the rules, which I think will probably end up in the back half here,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I expected that was going to happen.
But I mean, if that's the case, then yes, I think you're right when we start to talk about other sports, and I think that's where you were going a little bit with things like, baseball and so forth, where now they've had to put they put a pitch clock in there and things like that. They're going to have to do some things to regulate this because all of a sudden they're going to choke out their own sport, which is not what you want to happen. And from a business of the sport as well, it starts to create an issue too because time is there's not a no limits on time. So for golf courses, you get more and more situations where you're going to get more friction out there because golfers are not going at a reasonable pace. It starts to make for bad business if you can't get, golfers out there and through and have a good round. And all of a sudden, if golfers are ripping off the golf course because they're like, oh man, I'm ticked. This is taking too long. I'm never going back to that place. That becomes a problem too. So
Big time. Big
yeah,
time. Okay, well, you know what? Let's take a break,
sure.
and then we'll push all our rule talk into the back nine,
Sure.
and we'll get after it and see where that leads. So,
Sounds good.
we'll take a quick break here. When we come back, rules are rules is the topic of conversation. You're listening to and watching the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod.
The future isn't forged, it's printed. We've combined 3D printing and state-of-the-art engineering to revolutionize how golf clubs are made. Our internal lattice saves an incredible amount of weight and moves it where it matters most. Irons with unmatched feel, forgiveness, and precision, all engineered into a compact player's shape. Performance only possible with 3D printing. Only possible with Cobra Golf.
All right, well, welcome back to the Flagstick podcast. Jeff Botter, Scott McLeod. As expected, we had a lot to discuss in the front nine this week, so we didn't get to the main topic at all in the front nine, but that's okay because we knew that was going to happen.
Exactly.
We can write it down however we want, but we know what's going on. We know where it's going to
Yeah.
lead. So here we are. Let's get to our back nine presented by Falcon Ridge Golf Club. With 27 holes of fun and challenging golf at great rates, Falcon Ridge is a great golfing experience that you should not miss. Don't forget, they have built the first TrackMan range in Eastern Ontario. TrackMan range is all about easy to use, exciting features that provide the ultimate range experience for every golfer at every level. That's practice games and virtual golf. To book tee times or to book one of the 10 TrackMan range bays, visit falconridgegolf.ca. We were talking about pace of play there. Falcon Ridge is a great example. Like, some people just like to play 9 holes. I've gotten to the point where, yes, 18 holes. I'll play 18 holes of golf on golf courses. Maybe there's a golf course I really want to play
Sure.
18 holes and I'll like it, like, because I'm experiencing it. But for me, for casual golf anymore, 9 holes is 9 holes is more than enough for me.
Yep.
Golf courses like Metcalf that have a 9-hole course. That's the only course over at Metcalf that I ever play.
Right.
Other than I've got a 2-man event coming up to play with Brandon before he heads off to university. And Falcon Ridge is the other one. The Raceview course at Falcon Ridge. Love playing that golf course. Love it. So
I grew up playing 9-hole golf courses, so I mean, it doesn't feel unusual to me.
No.
I thought it was funny when I moved to Ontario how people was like there was sort of a formality of that every round has to be 18 holes. It's like, well, sometimes you just need 2 bites out of the brownie. You don't need the whole brownie, right? So
yeah, exactly. Now I'm hungry. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Let's get into some of this. So here's where this came from. We're driving,
Yeah.
Obviously we're watching the Open Championship this past weekend, and then I'm driving around on delivery and I'm listening to different podcasts and I'm listening to different social media stuff, and all I'm hearing is Bryson did obviously
Yeah.
I know what happened. I know what the issue was, and then
Sure.
then this is what social media does.
It just became the only thing for the Open.
It goes
It
viral.
just blew up.
And it becomes the only thing that anybody's talking about is what Bryson did. Was it right? Was it wrong? Should he have got penalized? Was the penalty too harsh? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah,
doesn't matter what. I can have an opinion about this. And
sure,
you can
of course.
hate my opinion, and Scott could have a completely different opinion. But what sort of sparked this topic that we're going to get into, and we're going to go all over the place with this. So just let you know ahead of time, structure out the window. We're going to be bouncing everywhere. But to start with, very first thing I said to Scott after this happened was I said, Jesus, I said, is this another internet invitational? Because
Mm.
that's what it felt like to me is like
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
broke a rule
Yeah.
and whether it was inadvertent, whether it was
Right.
accidental, whether you
Exactly.
interpret it as being on purpose is not really the relevant thing in the
No,
whole scenario. It's
not
an
at all.
interpretation of the rule that is in the rule book.
You got
It's
it.
a rule, and
You got it.
I'm not gonna go and read the rule because the rule has been read and dissected.
Yep.
The rule is what the rule is, and the rules officials on site, these are RNA rules officials. These are not the
Hmm.
guy that got his, rules license from a Cracker Jack box. This
No,
is rule. These are guys that have
best of
been
the best.
practicing the rules forever.
Yeah.
They interpreted the rule the way they interpreted the rule. And by the
Yeah.
way they interpreted the rule and why they explained the rule, when they explained the whole situation, he broke the rule.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of the other discussion, was it too harsh? Maybe.
It's irrelevant,
Was it
right?
by the right definition? Yes.
Yeah.
They interpreted the rule and Bryson broke the rule.
Yeah.
That's a two-stroke penalty. End of
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, really. I think the problem was is everybody started to get into things like intention. Well, we don't know what intention is.
We
And the
don't know
thing
what his
is,
intention was.
correct. And there's a big difference between breaking a rule and cheating. And I think that's the word that I heard over and over again. It's like, okay, we cannot, whether you have an opinion on it or not, that you can't just determine that. You can't. I mean, so anyways, as you said, it's a rule. That's the way it is. I mean, we've all had situations where we've been on the golf course and you wish that the rule wasn't what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was a case of you got in a situation where it's like, oh crap, that's inadvertent and it happens. And, I guess the biggest thing is it's your acceptance of that, right? And
Yeah.
and you realize, what the situation is. And sometimes players will just go, okay, fine, that's the rule. And I've had that before. I mean, been out there and look at the shootout. We were there on the Sunday, and obviously he was helping out with pace of play. Because I'm a PGA member, we have to do our rules tests and so forth, and we have to go through that process while we're not exercising those muscles all the time. And simply, in a lot of cases, is that you're making basic rulings. I'm not out there making, complicated rulings. We're talking cart paths and free drops and really basic stuff or whatever. But it's quite interesting right away. It's like people all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, that drop from the path. Let's go over here. Okay. Okay. Here's how the rule is written. I'm just applying it. You may not like where the drop is. You have the option to hit it off the path. But again, the rules are written. We'll call it in a somewhat clear way. We'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the evolution of the rules over the years. And I mean, that first written rules go back to 1744, and then they just kept evolving from there. So as you said, whether you want to sit there and pound on it over and over and over again, which I think that just becomes a distraction, right? And I think that's unfortunate that people, spent so much time on it just because it was clickbait. Became controversy, became easy to delve into that and to start to talk about it. And we're talking about it, but we're trying to talk about it in a different way. Of that's what they were focused on rather than the play of everything else. And I'm certainly glad it didn't happen on the final day.
Yes.
Although there was a ruling on the final day that had some debate over it with Scotty Scheffler. But I'm glad in the end the focus was on the championship and who was winning versus, I guarantee you there was other rulings that took place during the tournament.
Okay, so therein lies
I mean?
therein lies the other half of the Bryson part of it is that people are saying that they wouldn't have made this ruling if it hadn't been Bryson. And it's like, okay, I think that's a little unfair to say.
Yeah.
Because I think they would have made the ruling whether it was Bryson or not, because there's the same number of rules officials out on the golf course. Everybody, the same cameras are out there, the same things. Yes, it's not what you see on TV necessarily from a guy that's at the bottom of the field that didn't make the cut.
Sure.
But there's still that same ruling would have applied. No, you wouldn't have saw the ruling on television. It wouldn't have blown up on social media, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. There's rulings. I can tell you right now, 100%, that if you talk to the RNA after the Open Championship was finished, how many rulings they made, and how many did you see on TV? 2?
Correct. Yeah.
You saw 2.
Yeah.
So, and there were probably 50 rulings made and some of them might even have been straight up similar to what Bryson's situation was, but it's Bryson. So that part of it I get. It's Bryson, but it's not because it's Bryson. If Bryson was sitting dead last and not making the cut, the camera probably wouldn't even have been on him to see that happen. But then again, it might have been on him because it's Bryson, and that's what people want to see. Is they want to either see Bryson win the Open Championship, contend for the Open Championship, or get beat up. And hit the storyline on him last weekend was either he was going to make the cut or he was going to make history.
Yeah,
you know,
he made history.
He made history, just for the wrong reasons. But that was the other one would have been for the wrong reasons too. But that's the point. It's like, but Bryson also put himself there.
Yeah,
Bryson has created a persona around him and a personality that he's a YouTube guy. He's not just a PGA Tour player. He's made it known that that's part of what he wants to do, is become one of these YouTube influencer guys.
Yeah.
He wants
it's a performance.
Yeah. So how much of what he was doing out there is like the whole idea of, you know, his agent saying, well, we'll see whether he plays tomorrow. It's like, what kind of idiot says something like that? You're at the Open Championship. You just got called for a rules violation, and your response to that is, well, I don't agree with this. We'll see if he even plays tomorrow. Who cares? Don't play. I mean, I don't care.
Tournament will go on.
It doesn't matter. Go make another video of people hitting balls over your house.
Yeah.
I don't care. So that's the wrong response.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm not entertained by Bryson stuff. I watch it.
Wasn't entertained by any of that.
No, but no, I'm saying more for like his YouTube stuff or whatever. But this is where the separation, and there's a great a couple columns that are out about this. It's like here's where the separation between the game of golf and, you know, the performance of golf for clicks and performance, where it becomes theatrical, is a separation of the two, and they're totally different realms. And, you know, unfortunately, they don't necessarily 100% mix. So, you know, to go back and be, you know what, look, maybe he's demonstrative and, you know, he's theatrical and how he's, you know, talking to the officials and stuff like it. You could have done that, and you could have done that in private. You know, that's a choice. That's a decision to, you know, to kind of do that. You may not agree with it, but there's also ways to deal with that as well. That, you know, if you don't agree with it, you can make it known, but you don't have to act like a petulant child in doing that. You can say
that's a good reason. That's a great description for it, because that's exactly what he looked like. He looked like a child having a temper tantrum.
Exactly. So, I mean, you can be classy about it, you know, take the ruling, not agree with it, be upset, be mad. But, you know, I think playing into it, and then on top of it, some people said, okay, great. He was good humored in how he, you know, took to, you know, social media and his little videos with floating and stuff like that. But again, it's like, are you just like drawing attention to yourself? Like, you know, act like you've been there before.
Yeah, it's all about his brand, and you know, I was all in with Bryson when he started doing, you know, I mentioned the hitting wedges. Of trying to make the hole in one over his house, and then he was hitting,
but that's entertainment,
ping pong balls or something to the balcony, and it's like I was all into that. That's kind of cool, a little something to do in between events. He's on live, so he's not playing every week, and you know, whatever. He's trying to build his brand. I get that, and I was all in, and I was kind of starting to like it a little bit. Then he did his 59 challenge there with Trump, and that started to send me in a different direction right off the bat. And then it just kind of started to go spiraling out of control after that. It seemed like that's the only thing he was interested in was building his YouTube brand. And he talked about, you know, maybe going the route of some of the other guys that you know, like Dalkey and guys like that went the YouTube route. You know, and it's fine.
And that's a choice. That's perfectly fine.
I chose to start a golf magazine when I was 25 years old. That's my choice.
Yeah.
You know, it's nobody else's decision. So I do it, and I go with it, and I run with it for 30 years. That's my life. But
sure, but there's implications that you have to realize there's implications for it, and he can't be surprised when people are upset by particular things of how they react to it, because that's just the way it is. So, I mean, if you have a choice and that's what you want to do, that's fine, but live with the consequences that kind of come with it, right? So, you know, if he's focused on winning major championships as much as possible, then you'd be doing as much as possible to win the major championships. If you're focused on building your brand is not just about attention as well. It's also about about making sure that people trust, respect you and so forth. And if you're just doing it from if you just do it from a clickbait standpoint, look, anybody can do something that's clickbaity, spectacular, and get views and get attention. But it's like, what level of integrity do you want within that? So would you rather have, a million views on something and still have your integrity? Or do you want are you all about the money and you want as many views as possible and you'll just do anything to get that? So again, that's a choice. I'm not judging, but again, that's a choice that they make. So as far as the ruling, yeah, you know what? Like you said, rules are rules. They apply to everyone, and that's the part about golf, is that the rules are there and in place, and they originated from those 13 rules. And
yeah, I was reading. It's interesting. You jotted the down. Scott does the research.
Yeah.
These 13 original rules. Like, we're not going to go through them all, but it's
No.
interesting that
It's hard enough to read them.
The simplicity of the game of golf, the original 13 rules from 1744.
And I encourage people to go look them up. Yeah.
To what we have now in the complexity of the rules now, and now we have a decisions book and we have all this stuff. But back then, it's like something as simple as you must tee your ball within a club length of the hole.
Yeah, exactly.
And you say, you literally teed off right next to the hole. So the rule was after you finished a hole, you had to tee off within one club length of the hole that you just holed out in. Now, clearly we don't do that anymore for a number of different reasons, pace of play being one of them, not damaging the green surface. But I mean, given what the green surfaces were like back then, it wasn't like they were cut and double rolled like they are now. So it was a little different, but you know.
And I think what's happened, though, is, just like any game or any sport, I mean, these are rules that are almost 300 years old now. Things evolve as situations evolve. I mean, it's like a policies and procedures manual for a company. They can start with the basic rules, but what's going to happen is that situations are going to come up along the way, and they're like, oh, okay, we better have a procedure for that. We better have a policy for that. So that's what happens as far as the rules of golf. So, certainly they have become complicated in a certain way, complicated because of the clarification. But you can think about it. I mean, how many times does a person go through a tournament round? They really don't run into a lot of rule situations. So they're only complicated because it's having things to take care of those particular things. But I think a lot of people don't even know the basic rules. You know what I mean? And
I would agree with that. And that's the thing. And good on you to mention it that way, that they don't know the basic rules.
Correct. Yeah. I don't expect them to know every rule. No way.
How can anybody possibly know all of the rules of golf inside out and backwards? That's what these guys like Gary Bauer who work with us.
But even those rules still have the rules books with them, and
they're looking up.
Of course, they want to confirm that, and they will make mistakes as well. We've seen lots of situations where they're like, oh, okay, I didn't apply that rule properly or whatever. But the most basic situations, now we get it. When you're playing for millions of dollars, you obviously want to be careful with certain things. But in that case, then why are not careful in certain things? Mm-hmm. But even for other golfers who actually you got to remember, the rules are not just there to punish. They can help a person out as well. I mean, obviously it helps Scotty Scheffler out. He hits this golf ball to the left of the TIO, the grandstand. They didn't find the ball, but he still gets a free drop because that's part of that rule. That's there. Whether you agree with it or not, that's the situation that's in play for those particular tournaments. And you can go and look up the model local rule F23 if you want, which is certainly complicated and has lots of diagrams and stuff like that. But then you'll understand, instead of just bitching about it, you'll understand why it's put into place and how it's put into place, because it's an unusual situation that, we don't have grandstands when we're playing golf on a day-to-day basis. So they have to do things on a particular basis. But if players know certain things, they can, we'll call it, take advantage of the rules, but they'll know that, look, people take advantage of the rules in a couple different ways. And here's a great example. You can go on a golf hole and I was playing the other day with somebody who there's out of bounds down the left side of the one hole. Mm-hmm. There is a red penalty area down the right side of the hole. They play, because it's a tight tee shot, they play down that right side, because they're taking advantage of the rule and the fact that if they hit that ball into that lateral area on the right, one, they can play it if they have the option, and if they can't play it, they're taking a drop right there, as opposed to the stroke and distance. So it's not always about punishing a person for the rules of golf. It's just understanding them so that they can help you.
So okay, so here's the thing. Um, yeah, we know the original rules and all that,
Yeah,
and we know that had to evolve over time and
sure,
to
of
get to
course.
where we're at now, where we're constantly adding,
Hmm.
modifying, changing the wording of the rules of golf. We're trying to assist in the industry in creating and modifying the rules in such a way that it makes it um, easier for regular everyday players to play with
Yeah,
pace and speed and things like that. So we've kind of gotten a lot of golf courses are now getting rid of white stakes on golf courses and putting red stakes in place of those, just for the sake of picking up the pace. So you eliminate the provisional
right.
ball when there's a red stake, because obviously if your ball is
Yeah,
deemed to have gone into a red stake area,
yeah.
you're not supposed to
and
hit a
we and we
provisional anyway.
and we saw golf associations adjust to that because they created the rule where you could drop in the fairway and hit four off the
Yes.
tee or whatever. They're modifying these things all the time. And I think you were going to separate the fact that obviously we have regular rules, we'll call it regular rules, as far as everyday golfers, and we have tournament situations, right?
Yeah.
So again, the rules are there to kind of you know anyways, we'll go into it. So
So let's just say, um, let's just say you could change a rule,
mm,
Scott.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, rules being what they are, we've talked about this. Rules are rules, but
Yeah.
if you could change one that
Yeah.
maybe it's not you're not a big fan of, and or you could modify the wording on
Yeah,
one,
or add one or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
that kind of thing. What would it be?
Well, the thing is that again, as we said, they've evolved over time, and we saw changes in how balls are dropped. We've seen changes in stymies being used. We've seen the anchored putting ban. I think the anchored putting ban was put in based on an aesthetic rather than data. I think there was average golfers and even professional golfers, because I can remember having a conversation with David Hearn, had gone to a longer putter later on in his golf career, of that if he hadn't gone to that longer putter, so a modified, not the same as a standard putter length, it might have ended his career. So I'm not sure I love it, because I think the anchored putting ban, I get it not having a point, but as far as having an apex, fulcrum, they call it, as far as putting, but we also see players taking putters and they're jamming it against their lead arm and stuff like that. So I think there's just too many.
Is that
There's
not
too many.
anchored?
No, it's not considered anchored. So yeah, so
Let's
that's the
fix that.
problem.
Let's fix that
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah, so but the thing is that if you're not going to do that one versus the other one, and you're not seeing a performance difference, I think when you're talking about the difference between a tour player and an average player, if all of a sudden the average player goes out of the game because they can't use a long putter, or they perceive that they can't stay in the game, then I think you're hurting them in some ways. And again, we know that the average golfer is probably not adhering to the rules anyways. I'll say this: the ones that I would like to add, maybe, and especially if we start to see it from a tournament plays perspective, and that's more about pace of play, because I think pace of play is a real issue with the average golfer, and I'm more concerned about the average golf here than the tournament golfer, because realistically, the tournament golfer doesn't play as they're not as there's not as many of them as the average golfer, right?
Hmm.
But is there a consideration for time for how many practice swings can a player make? I mean, again, that might be something that's hard to regulate, but I mean, if you go and watch a player and their pre-shot routine is 50 minutes or 50 seconds and becomes 2 minutes and whatever, eh, you know, you're not going to sit there with a shot clock for the average golfer, right? It's
No.
that would be pretty hard to regulate. But I mean, is things like practice swings, is there something that can be done as far as, and this is not a knock, as I'm big on aim point. Aim point is actually faster. It's people who will call it
I don't
douchebag.
agree with that. You're never going to get me to agree that
100%.
aim point plays.
We
Show me
will.
the stats, because I can
I
putt
will.
faster than you any
I,
day, and I don't use
no
aim
way.
point.
No chance. No
I
chance.
guarantee
If
I
if
putt
if
faster than you.
I guarantee you don't.
From
If
the
you do
time I get to my ball and
if
I
you do
mark my
multiple,
ball and I take it
if
off,
you
I
do
will have
multiple,
that putter back and then the putt gone through
okay,
long before you even finish your aim point.
I'm talking about the reads. My reads are 40 seconds tops, right?
Okay, well
Tops.
maybe yours are,
Tops.
Scott. Maybe yours
I
are,
will
but
show
you
you
watch any PGA Tour event,
okay.
these guys do an aim point takes them a hell of a lot longer than 40 seconds to make a putt.
If they're doing true aim point, they're not. They're doing fake point, and that's different. So
Well,
I will
then
show.
get
I
rid
will
of
show
aim
you.
point, you get rid of fake point too.
I will. Aim point's faster. The multiple line reads is what adds to the time. And the study is done on that. So if a player goes, and this is why I said from a pace standpoint, it's the fact when a player goes through one side of the hole, the other side of the hole, the other side of the hole, that's what adds the
But
time.
you're not going to change that at the competitive level of golf. As long as there's something on the line, you're never going to be able, unless you eliminate their ability to go behind the hole or down and read putts
That's
like
what I'm
that. You're
saying.
never going to get rid of
So
that.
what I'm saying is that multiple time or line reads or time will have to change. That's the one rule that I would look into. And again, I will send you the study, and aim points faster than multiple line reads, because the time that it takes, the issue is not the method. The issue is the process that people take, as far as the more time or the more places that they look at the putt from multiple sides of the hole. That's what takes more time.
Well, maybe
That's what takes more time.
I've never once seen any player do an aim point that's taken a short period of time to read a putt.
Well,
Other than,
I'll
I
tell you
mean,
what.
you and I don't
I've been
play
do-
together that much,
I've been
so I mean,
doing
I'm
it for
not going to
I've been
comment on
doing it
that.
for 14 years. I study this all the
I
time.
guarantee, though, I putt faster.
We'll see. Anyways, besides the point, what rule would you change?
Well, you know what? A lot of the rules that I would have changed, they have changed. So,
Okay.
so like things like the bunkers, like loose impediments in bunkers,
Yeah.
you know,
Which is a good one.
things like that. I would have changed. Um, it's tough because there's you know, and again, I don't think there should be any in-course out of bounds. I don't think there should. I think the out of bounds rule should be treated the same way as a hazard. So I don't think there's any reason for white stakes. I know that there was a modification saying, you know, if you hit your ball out of bounds, you can drop your ball in the fairway and you're hitting 4 instead of 3.
Sure.
Which is equivalent, they say, to going back to the tee and hitting it to the same spot, and you'd be hitting your 4th shot from there, not your 3rd shot from the tee for pace of play sake. But I don't really see the point in the out of bounds versus the hazard. So what Smuggler's Glen did by getting rid of, largely getting rid of all of the out of bounds on the golf course, they said, I think, is there out of bounds down the left of number 7 or
left on 7, right on,
because it's private property
where there's private property,
left.
but
So
otherwise it's lateral.
But you can also still red stake that and cap the stakes so that, like, as if it's an environmental area and they're not allowed to, or you can cap the top of the stakes with white and have it treated as a hazard, but you're not allowed to play your ball. Like, there's ways that you can get away with having to have people re-tee, like get rid of the provisional ball. Like, just if you think you hit your ball into a hazard or out of bounds, like, first of all, if it's red stake, you get rid of the provisional ball right away because you're not allowed to hit a provisional ball in red stake.
Yeah, and if they know in advance, if they know in advance that they're all red all the way, then they won't hit that.
So you just get rid of white altogether, and it's treated like a hazard. Now, I get that the hazard rule, but again, you can modify the hazard stake rule to accommodate for not allowing people to go in and play their ball. As the penalty area, you're allowed to go in and play your ball in the penalty area, but you can provide local rules to stop that from happening. So, so some of the things that I would have liked to have seen changed have been changed. The putter thing, I've never been a big fan of the long putter. I've never been a fan of, you know, in my opinion, an anchored putter is any putter that touches your body in any way, shape, or form. So by anchoring your putter or pressing it against your forearm, to me, that's anchoring your putter because it's stopping the hand movement on the putter, which is eliminating part of the skill of the game. So I don't like that either, and people will disagree, and that's fine. It's just my opinion. But, you know, there's little idiosyncrasies in the rules. Divots in fairways drive me absolutely bonkers. But this is going way back. Like, this is back in the deepest histories of the game, where we considered this rub of the green. Like, it's just your ball rolls into a divot. Sorry, it's just part of the game. But what I look at is when I hit my ball dead center of the fairway and it rolls into somebody else's divot hole.
Sure.
Then to me, once there's been a chunk taken out of the fairway by somebody else other than me, now that should be considered ground under repair because it's no longer a playable surface in the middle of the fairway. If it's filled with sand, yes, it's more playable, but once it's filled with sand, it is ground under repair. It's just unmarked ground under repair because it's happening while the run. You can't just go around with a spray can and fill your sand hole with your divot hole with the sand and then spray paint around it and then go like you have people carrying spray cans. So that would be something that I would look at the possibility of modifying or changing is when you're hitting your ball into the area on the golf course where you were supposed to hit your ball and be rewarded for hitting it there. I don't think that other than uneven lies and things like that, that you should be penalized for hitting it in that spot by having to play it as someone else's crater. But I also get the history. So
yeah, and it's not even just the history. I think it's the application of it. So, I mean, you'd have to do mark in place or whatever the case, in all the different situations to allow for that, because the problem is it would be the interpretation. So you'd get into sort of arguments, somebody would be like, oh, well, that looks, I mean, again, it's easy sometimes when it's a clear divot, but sometimes there's scrapes, marks, or whatever where it's hard to tell whether that was an actually divot or not. So I think that's the hard part with the application of it. I agree on the reward and somewhat for hitting it to where you're supposed to and being that situation. I just think the application is really difficult, and I think that's part of the problem. So
and that is the thing. Anytime you change any rule, it's okay. Well, we've changed that rule. Now, how is everybody that plays going to interpret that rule? How is everybody going to apply the rule? And then so they've got to take all that into consideration when they make a change to a rule. So it's not just saying, "Oh, we don't like that rule. Let's change it." Then you think, "Oh, dang, we did that. Now everybody's doing this."
Yeah, and that was the hard part with the anchored putting ban, because we know, Dean Ryan was on that rules committee at the time, and it took a lot of interpretations to kind of come up with what they thought it was. So it seemed sort of, it seemed very subjective, whereas is much different than, we go back to the rule that was changed in 2019. Think about this. We used to be on the green, and we don't even think about this even more. We used to be on the green, and if the flagstick was in and you hit the flagstick with your putt, that was a penalty. Which is really odd when we think about that now, when we go back and think about it, but we don't even think about it anymore, right? Yeah. But that one's easy. That one's easy.
I don't anyway, because I take the flag out.
No. But the thing is that, the thing is that people used to do that from a pace of play, and then it was a rules violation. But that one's an easy one to figure out, because either the pin is in or the pin is out. The problem comes down to the interpretation, and we've seen it even too when they had this, croquet style putting ban in 1968. It's like, okay, is that person straddling the line, or are they not, or whatever? I mean, interpretation becomes really, I've seen this one of late too. It's like, think about the drops that we used to do as far as the golf ball. It used to be over the shoulder, and then it became from shoulder high, and now it's from knee height. And it's like, I see people having discussions about, oh, I'm not sure that's knee height. It was a little too high or a little too low. Like, oh my God, like, what are we getting into here? I understand there's reasonings why they're doing particular things so that you're not dropping it from the high and then it's just like burying in the grass and so forth. But, if you're arguing over 1 inch one way or the other, I mean, I guess that's where I guess that's where rules start to turn people off, is when they start to get into, that sort of fine details. It's like, oh my God, is this really going to affect what's going to happen? But the rules are there. So, whether you like them or not, you have to play by them.
Well, and that's the thing. So that all comes back to let's roll it all back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
All the discussions that we have about what they were, what they are, what they could be, at this point become irrelevant, because the rules are the rules.
Yeah.
And that's just what we all play by right now.
Yeah. And until they change, then you just play the ones that you're dealt with. So whether you like them or not. So
all right. So let's leave it at that. But one thing before we do have to get out of here. But Internet Invitational 2026 is going to be back. And you kind of put, what does that mean? What that means is we're going to have content to discuss for months on end after these donkeys go out there and break the rules and play by whatever they feel like, because Dave Portney is the rules official, and and Ryan Whitney, and he's like, honest to gosh, guys, like, I get the whole point of the Internet Invitational. I get it. I'm on YouTube. We're on YouTube. Okay, we create content for YouTube. I just launched something that creates content for YouTube.
Yep.
But there's creating content for YouTube in one way, and then there's this, and this is like,
well, that's where the crossover.
I just can't get behind it.
As soon as you cross over from being one side into formal golf, then that becomes an issue. So, anyways, lots to talk about.
We'll see what happens.
$4 million they're apparently going to be playing for, up from the $1 million. So that makes the stakes even higher. So who knows? We'll see what that does to it.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to get out of here.
We're leaving. We're going to go have a putting contest.
Exactly. It's not a contest. It's a speed contest. Thanks to our sponsors, Metcalf Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Club, and of course our presenting sponsor this week, Cobra Golf. All new 3D printed irons featuring fully 3D printed club heads. These irons deliver unmatched blends of feel, forgiveness, and precision shaping that goes beyond the limits of traditional forging and casting. Experience the future of iron performance and get fit for Cobra's 3D printed irons today. Visit cobragolf.ca for more info. I hope you've been enjoying watching and hearing us. Be sure to follow us across all of our social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us and smash that notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing content delivered every single day. And sign up for the Flagstick Digest newsletter. It's free, delivered to your inbox 3 times a week. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I am Jeff Potter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Remember, always go for this thing.